He went on this long tirade of talking. First class education. I'll never forget it. Amazed. I'm sitting here under this tree. This is like a really cool moment. And then he like stands up after talking. He kind of cracks his neck twice, hits the ropes, 1, 2, does a back bump. He's like, I'm ready for Mania. Walked out.
All right, let's land the plane on talking about, oh, you didn't, bro. Let's talk about the Undertaker.
Oh, Mark. I love Mark.
Indeed. How was working with old Mark Calloway over there at backstage in WWE?
I mean, he's another one of those guys that was to a younger generation or a cowardly, millennial generation would fear speaking to him to an extent, like, because you do not want to bother a guy like that, and you don't want to like uninterruptedly go shake his hand because every person's probably shaking his hand. And you're probably like, this guy's probably sick of shaking my hand. Like, I don't want to bother it, but I did have a great experience once when he was training for, I think it was WrestleMania 27 or 28. He came down to FCW maybe a month beforehand, and he's walking around, and I'm like, oh, because we're just practicing, and like Taker's here. We didn't know, and I tag in, and I found the biggest guy, and I just started like working a big guy, like an aggressive heel that somebody he can sell for, and he like was watching, and I was doing these. I think it was Titus O'Neil, so Lord knows I can't believe I got out of that alive. And so I'm working a big guy just to show him I can work. A month later, we get a call. Hey, Taker wants to train for WrestleMania. Can you come in on Saturday afternoon and work with him? And I said, yes, that would be cool. Of course. So it was myself, Johnny Curtis, aka Fandango, and I think Heath Slater, Naked Midian, and Taker. And we had about 3 or 4 hours of like hanging out. And a lot of it was shooting the S, like talking to him and getting insight on him and the business, all these things. Then occasionally we'd run a couple spots, and then he went on this long tirade of talking. Like, it was just like first class education. I'll never forget it. Amazed. I'm sitting here under this tree. This is like a really cool moment. And then he like stands up after talking. He kind of cracks his neck twice, hits the ropes, 1, 2, does a back bump. He's like, I'm ready for Mania. Walked out. And then like that was it. That was his training. Wow. Like, he's that talented. He was that gifted. He was that much of a veteran. There were like, what do I need to do? Run the ropes? No, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to kill it. And he did.
Of course. Vince, you've worked very hand in hand with the Undertaker. How was it working and just kind of having a lot to do with the Ministry of Darkness?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome working with him, bro. And a lot, bro, like probably more of my communication was through Paul Bearer, because he did the talking. So Taker was a man of very few words. But bro, the one thing that I'll always remember about him that you had to work with him to really know, bro, he worked some of his most epic matches in intense pain. And he never sold it, and you would never know it. Here's how I would see it, bro. Like he if it was a main event and it was last and everybody left the building, bro, he would come in the back and just sneak away into one of the side locker rooms and collapse. And I mean, Francois, the guy that worked these guys, were on him immediately, working his back, and he was like in intense pain. And I remember standing there so many times seeing this and thinking, how did he just have that freaking match? Like, how did he physically just do what he did? But that was the thing, bro. He never sold it. You would have never known it unless you hung around and really saw the type of pain he worked in a lot.
I don't think people realize or appreciate just being that size, and like, it takes so much more of a toll on your body being that size and having like those joints and those limbs, and then having to travel. Like, even if he's sitting first class, the dude's 6'10", he's crammed into it, and like, you know, the plane, you know, the air pressure, the landing, and the rental cars for 3 to 4 hours a night, and you get 4 hours of sleep at like, you know, a Holiday Inn, and like what that toll took to train to then work. And this dude, he was a big man, but he worked his ass off. Like, he could work with anybody. And I think it's not something you realized until you're very in tune to the, you know, the wrestling part of pro wrestling. Because I remember being in '97 watching Ministry of Darkness, and I'm like, Undertaker doesn't do anything. But I go back in time and I'm watching Survivor Series with Bret Hart, and you're watching Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels. Then he goes through the, you know, the American Badass, and he's coming back in 2006. He's working with like Angle, and he's like a top 3 worker, wrestler, not even sports entertainer in that 2006 to like 9 run. Just incredible, going against Brock. And I think he did have a match with Brock, and it was that SummerSlam match where he went to the back, and you could see him walking to the back, and he just collapsed.
Yeah.
Because imagine working a guy like Brock Lesnar, and you're coming off of an injury, and you know you're older, and you're training for it, but you don't have the constant cardio to go 30 minutes with Brock on a pay-per-view. Like, normal people can't live, let alone, you know, walk away from that.
Yeah, he was concussed really bad during the match. Yeah. And I think he collapsed against the match against Triple H too. That he I think it was one of the Mania matches that he just collapsed. And so, yeah, I mean, I remember seeing like the documentaries with the Undertaker, and like how he would come straight to the back, sit down on the medical table, and just keep getting shot up with all types of, you know, it was probably you know, just injections to kind of help him with his pain and things like that. So, yeah.
What did he say? Maybe it was a couple years ago, that irked every, you know, cowardice beta male on the planet. Like something about video games and things of that nature.
Yeah, as far as this generation of wrestlers, he was talking about that. Yeah.
He's not wrong. Like, sure, things change, generations change. You know, entertaining yourself on the road is a lot safer to be playing video games in your Marriott than it is to be buying drugs off of a guy at a saloon. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
At the same time, those lived experiences of being on the road and getting into a little, like a mix, getting into some weird stuff, like that's character development that plays on TV, which makes watching you so intriguing because you live a life people can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Like, so there's got to
be interesting note on that. The guy who, you know, allegedly was basically handing those wrestlers all those, you know, those steroids, that way, those pills and stuff. He still practices. It's just
great.
Yeah, he was. It was one of the. I did some research recently after seeing. I think it was the Dark Side of the Ring, or some documentary that I remember seeing, as far as just the steroid scandal. And yeah, it was really interesting. And the guy who it was the guy who was kept giving Kurt Angle pills.
Oh, the perk guy.
Yeah. So like, I think he went to jail for a while because of that. And I think the other guy, the guy who was given the wrestlers back in the 80s to the scandals and stuff, if I'm not mistaken, he's like really older now, and he's still practicing. So
let it be known to the fans of professional wrestling that it hurts, and it hurts consistently, and it hurts constantly, and it is not easy. And I am no size of Taker, nor have I worked the amount of matches he had or had his career. Even doing 3 shows this weekend, I get off a plane to go. I go right to the gym, but like I can barely walk. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm not. These are indies. It's not like I'm falling down a bunch and I'm going all out or all in. But like, so until you do it and consistently practice it, the things it takes to get it done, you can't really judge somebody. You can have your ideas, but to completely pass judgment on people that are trying to make a living and support families and, you know, create generational wealth so their families are taken care of.
Yeah.
You know, they're willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. So I did look. It is confirmed. Dr. George Zahoran, the person who was arrested in '91 for the steroid scandal, he is 75 years old, and he is still practicing in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So, yeah, very interesting. There's a number here too. I might do some. I might do some journalism. Like, hey, George, this is Doctor. Hey, Dr. George, Dr. Chris, how's it going, man? Let's have
I'm a
some
doctor. Can I get the medical files of every professional wrestler?
There you go. There you go. Good stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of the Wrestling Outlaws. Until next time, we got Vince Russo, we've got EC3, we've got Dr. Chris. Have a good night, everybody. So